Hey guys, and welcome back to my channel. So I know that this video is going up a few days after Christmas, but I am filming it before Christmas, and I mean Christmas technically goes till what? January 5th, January 6th? There's 12 days of it. So I think it's acceptable to talk about this. But I finally finished Krampus the Yule Lord by Brom. For those of you guys who do not know, Brom is I guess you would call him an illustrator. He's an artist. He makes these really, really amazing art prints, as well as an author. I read earlier this year his 2021 release, Slewfoot. I was not crazy about Slewfoot. It had a lot of pacing issues, and the way certain character arcs were resolved, I wasn't crazy about. I do have a full review on that up on my channel, but I know a lot of people love Brom, and I know a lot of people loved that book. And Krampus the Yule Lord is probably the most recommended Christmas horror book out there. So this is a pretty old hardback edition. I did get this book, I believe in 2012 when it came out. In either 2012 or 2013, around the Christmas season, I started reading it. And then stuff happened and I stopped reading it. Did not intentionally DNF it, just life came up and I stopped reading it. And then it was like after Christmas and I didn't want to read a Christmas story. And then again, maybe 2 or 3 years ago, same kind of thing, picked it up, started to read it, got like, I don't know, less than 100 pages in, and then just stopped. So I've never intentionally DNF'd this book, but I have not finished it twice. So I did want to go in this year and make sure that I actually read it. Though after having read Slewfoot, I was a little hesitant that I wasn't going to love this story. So before I get into my review, I will read the little inside flap for you. So it says, one Christmas Eve in a small hollow in Boone County, West Virginia, struggling songwriter Jesse Walker witnesses a strange spectacle. 7 devilish figures chasing a man in a red suit toward a sleigh and 8 reindeer. When the reindeer leap skyward, taking the sleigh, devilmen, and Santa into the clouds, screams follow. Moments later, a large sack plummets back to Earth. A magical sack that thrusts the down-on-his-luck singer into the clutches of the terrifying Yule Lord, Krampus. But the lines between good and evil become blurred as Jesse's new master reveals many dark secrets about the cherry-cheeked Santa Claus, including how half a millennium ago, the jolly old saint imprisoned Krampus and usurped his magic. Now Santa's time is running short, for the Yule Lord is determined to have his retribution and reclaim Yuletide. If Jesse can survive this ancient feud, he might have the chance to redeem himself in his family's eyes, to save his own broken dreams, and to help bring the magic of Yule to the impoverished folk, Boone County. And I also just want to show you guys some of these illustrations really quickly before I talk about this book, because the illustrations alone make owning this book like so worth it. They're so stunning. Like, I hope you guys can see it. This is Krampus, beautiful, and then he's got his Santa Claus and what's supposed to be Frau Perchta, but it's just not Frau Perchta, and I'm gonna get into that. So I will start off by saying this was a 4-star read for me, and the only reason it's a 4-star read for me is because when I take a look at all of the problems that I had with this novel, which aren't necessarily because of Brom's writing, it would be a 4-star read. The only real problem I have with Brom's writing in Krampus, like his actual stylistic writing, is he's very bad with pacing, and I thought the pacing in Slewfoot was very off as well. And Krampus is nowhere near as off as Slewfoot is, but there's still some kind of disconnect with the pacing. There's some chapters where, most of the chapters that actually dealt with Linda and Dillard, Linda being our main character's ex-wife or soon-to-be ex-wife, those I felt very invested in. They were very high tension, very fast paced. And then a lot of like the background history and lore with Santa and Krampus, and like explaining who the Belschnickels were and how they worked, I just felt droned on and on and on and on and on, and just didn't need to be told that in depth. And the reason I felt they didn't need to be told that in depth comes from my main problem with this novel, which is Krampus is a figure of Alpine folklore. Alpine pertaining mainly towards like Austrian and German folklore. He has been a significant part of German and Alpine and Austrian folklore for hundreds of years. Yet for some reason, Brom decided to throw all of that out the window and make Krampus a descendant of Loki and have everything in this novel be based around Norse mythology, which is inaccurate. And I know there have been a lot of articles recently in the last couple of years that are like, Krampus is actually a descendant of Loki. He's not. I heavily looked into this. I had really awesome follower on my Instagram page reach out to me about one of these articles as well. He's actually not. There is a Yule Lord who is a descendant of Hel, who is Loki's daughter. And this, I think, is where Brom was trying to piece together the Norse mythology with Krampus. But the Yule god of Norse mythology, it's not even Yule, because I don't believe Yule is a Norse term. It is the winter solstice god, is this horned goat-like creature. And may have influenced the depiction that we see of Krampus today. But also Krampus could have been very heavily influenced by the Christian ideal of Satan being like the horned goat. So there is no history that I found that directly shows that Krampus is of a Norse mythology at all. Did not see that anywhere. There are similar figures in Norse mythology that are similar to Krampus. Mayhaps Austrian, German, folk from years and years and years and years and years ago may have once seen that and been influenced. No idea. But I could not find a single direct historical moment in history that proves that Krampus is a descendant of Norse mythology. And even if he was, even if like you went back hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of years and were able to find like that one thing that proves that he was, Krampus is a German word. Krampus is rooted in German and Austrian and Alpine culture. To this day, you do not really see Finland and Sweden celebrating Krampus. You go to small towns in the Alps to see people celebrating Krampus. So the fact that Brom decided to fully ignore every single bit of Alpine tradition around Krampus that is still celebrated today really infuriated me. And I've spoken about this before, but my mom lived in Austria. She's of German descent, speaks German. So we grew up celebrating Krampus. Like, I wasn't getting coal as a kid. Krampus was coming to put me in a sack. So I grew up very much rooted with this tradition. So I was very upset to see all of the stuff that I grew up with and like love and cherish about Krampus being just thrown out the window. And I wouldn't be as offended if it just stuck with Krampus, but Belschnickels, they're also kind of from that tradition. Frau Perchta, who is a character in this, she is just Santa Claus's wife, which like, no. Frau Perchta is like a very intricate folkloric spirit. And we should treat her as such, not just this random one of 6 wives of Santa Claus, who, by the way, is also a descendant of Norse mythology. They claim that he's like Balder or something like that. And all of that was just, I hated. I hated it. And I felt very offended by it. Just because this was a great moment to really uplift Krampus in horror culture, and we chose not to. At least in the Krampus 2015 film, he is depicted of coming from like Alpine roots, which I really appreciated. I love the Krampus movie. It's kind of all over the place, but it's great. But that was my only real issue with this book, and of course the pacing. I really liked our character Jessie. I really liked our character Isabel. I actually really liked Krampus as a character. I thought Brom did a really good job of kind of humanizing this like shriveled up, down on his luck deity. There's a scene where Krampus realizes that children may still believe in Krampus and may still celebrate Yule, and there's another scene in a bar where you can see like kind of the camaraderie that Krampus's idea of Yule brings to people. And I thought that was so well balanced versus Santa, who was kind of portrayed as, again, giving like joy to children, but a lot of his stuff isn't based on family and nature and what Yule was originally about. It is more about the presents and giving to those who are in need, which is definitely a different side of Christmas. And I really thought that Brom did a very good job of balancing those polar opposite yet still good concepts together. The flap of the book says that there's a huge line blurred between what is good and what is evil, and I think the comparison of Krampus and Santa's motives and actions really show that. But also Jessie as a character. Jessie is a very flawed character. Isabel is a very flawed character. Most of the Belschnickels are. And yet you can look at them and see that there is good inside of them when faced with actual evil, such as characters like Dillard or the General. And I really, really loved the balance and the blurring of the lines that Brom did with this. This is definitely, again, way stronger than Slewfoot, and it is very Christmassy. There are reindeer, there are elves, there's Santa, there's a sleigh, there's like just snowy atmosphere everywhere. It's set on like Christmas Eve and then like leading up through like the 12 days of Christmas, and I really appreciated that because that's very intricate to Yule. I really did enjoy this once I looked past the fact that Brom really just butchered what could have been a really cool spin on Alpine folklore. So that was really my only, I mean, it really upset me. It really upset me. But I did really enjoy it. I really liked Krampus as a character, and again, I really liked Jessie. There were some moments where I thought that certain characters didn't get the climactic end that I felt they deserved. We don't really know what happens with a few of our main characters at the very end. The general storyline I thought was cut too short. I wanted more out of that because he was such a pivotal character up until that point. So there was just a lot of moments that, similar flaws with Slewfoot, but I think were more agitating in Slewfoot than they were in this. But again, 4-star read. I know it sounds like I'm tearing this book apart, but I'm not. I really do think it's a great Christmas horror story. It's out of all of, I've read a bunch of Christmas focused books this year, and that'll all be in my wrap-up video very soon, but this was definitely the most Christmassy. Like, this one really just screamed holly jolly Christmas all over the place. Like, if you want a solid Christmas horror story, this is, honestly, it's probably the most Christmassy story out of all of the Christmas horror stories I've come upon, except for maybe Secret Santa, who does Frau Perchta way more justice than this does. But yeah, definitely more Christmassy than Joe Hill's Nosferatu, which is a very Christmassy book. Christmas Land is a place in that. But yeah, so while I'm on my Krampus kick real quick, I just want to give a shout out to Persephone Light Co. because they made this adorable Krampus candle with this cute little illustration, and it just showed up in the mail. And it smells so good. What is this scent? It is Evergreen Boughs, Retribution, Bell Snickles, and Mulled Spices. It's very on the mulled spices. It smells like mulled wine. It's a very unique candle, and I really like it. So if you haven't checked out Persephone Light Co., y'all should do it. I really love this brand. Anyhow, that is all that I have for you guys today. As always, I post every Monday and Thursday, sometimes on Saturdays. And if you enjoy these videos, please hit the like and subscribe buttons down below, and I will catch you all in the next one. Mwah.